Craig, you know what you're going to say?
No, not it.
I never know either.
No, that's...
Is that the proper way to do it? Okay. Hey everybody, Matthew Olmican here for Short Line Egg Supply and accompanied by
Craig Olmican, Short Line Egg Supply.
And what we're going to talk about today is...
Herbicide mixing order.
We're getting to that time of year again. The seed's in the ground. Now we got to get our herbicide control out there so the weeds can be held at bay. Now, Craig, you've been spraying for an awful long time. 40 years?
I don't know 40 years, but I added up the other day. I've sprayed over 100,000 acres already. Yeah, and I'm finally starting to get it. So I wanted to share some of the things I've learned so far.
So before we get to that, so there you are. You're on top of that machine. What is the main way that you want to mix your chemical?
Well, what I like to do is dump everything in the inductor cone as fast as I can before the sprayer overfills with water. So that's, well,
we don't want that.
Is that right?
Nope.
Oh, okay, scratch that.
We're gonna start
Don't
over.
do that. It's not what we're trying to do. So the first thing that we want to do when we're mixing, and mixing is getting to be more important all the time because nobody wants to deal with a plugged up sprayer. So first thing we're going to dump in is our dries. So examples of dries. Sonic, Authority first, Zidua, dry atrazine. If it's dry in the jug, that has got to go in first into clean water. And make sure your tank is at least a third to a half full before you start dumping it in.
So clean water, at least a third or half full, put the dries in.
Dry in first, give it some time to mix. So if we're running it through an inductor cone, it mixes pretty fast. If we're dumping it in the top of the sprayer, you better give it maybe 2 to 3 minutes.
So like 2 to 3 minutes with an agitator
With
running?
the agitator running, so it's stirred up. And you'll know when it's stirred up because you won't see any little particles floating around in the tank anymore.
I was gonna say, you do it visually. You don't reach your hand in there.
Yeah, no. Even with gloves, try not to reach into the tank.
Yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
dries first. Second speed, soluble concentrates. These chemicals, we love them because they work so good, but most of the time these are what are causing our problems. So soluble concentrates, Lautus, Caprino, Mesocore, Mesotrione, anything that's an HPPD, a lot of the other good chemicals that we got are all soluble concentrates too. These got to go in next after dries. If there's no dries, these go in first. These need at least a good 2 to 3 minutes of mixing too. These look like they should mix up really easy. They don't.
Is there main active ingredients that a guy could reference on a tag to know if it is one of these HPPD things, or do you rely on your salesperson or agronomist?
It's going to say on the jug if they're a soluble concentrate or not. So if it says something SC, then you know what it is.
Oh, convenient.
But these gotta mix good. They look like they should be a good mixing, they're not necessarily. Next up, we're going to have our generic duals, our harness extras, our cetachlors, our ECs. That's the next thing that goes in. So
EC, what's that?
emulsifiable concentrate.
Word of the day.
These are the oily ones. So not so much water based, but oil based.
Oily.
So these go in next. So very important. The Caprinos, Lautus, Mesotriones first. Harness extras, Keystone LAs, duals next.
Ah, gotcha.
Okay.
Now, as aggressive agitate?
Yeah, so same thing. Give it some time in between. Don't have the chemicals mixing together in the inductor cone. You know, get them empty or at least the cones rinsed
So
out.
it sounds like to me
Fives.
like if you wait 3 minutes after each thing, you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong. Nope. Adjuvants. So the last thing that we're going to add is our drip control, our water conditioners, our surfactants, all that kind of stuff. That's the last thing that goes in.
No, hold on. Water conditioner. They don't go in first?
Negative. These all go in, well, in the case of AMS,
But if it's AMS should be the first thing to go in there to condition that water.
AMS is the first thing that goes in. That is true.
But not in the case of these. This is the last thing you want to add in.
Yeah. If you have a liquid one, you're dumping it in last.
Oh, interesting. Why last?
It's just the way that it has to mix.
It just does.
Really oily, and it changes like the pH of the water. So that's why we want to do that last. So it gives everything else a time to mix.
I gotcha.
This is mostly corn stuff that we were just talking about. We can touch on another one. So there's a lot of Enlist soybeans this year. There's going to be a lot of Enlist sprayed. I just want to touch base on that one because there could be a lot of problems with that too. So, all right. Enlist 1. This is 2,4-D choline. When you take this and mix it with Roundup, they're gonna fight. First thing that goes in the tank, 2,4-D.
Okay.
Second thing that goes in the tank, glyphosate. If you're dumping them in the same inductor cone, make sure they don't touch each other.
What happens?
They turn into something. It's either precipitate or a sludge, one of the two. My guess is it's more like a crystal, but you definitely don't want to let these two touch.
How many other rules are there? This is like...
You gotta keep him out of the sunlight. Keep him away from water. Don't ever feed him after midnight.
Don't get them wet. Don't show them bright lights. I suppose it's all for best. It's for convenient usability, best application. That's why it's really important to take those steps.
It is. Nobody wants to have trouble. The other thing that's causing a lot of trouble this year is algae. So check your water supply, your water tanks. Note Exhibit A. A lot of times they'll have like some crud buildup. As soon as it starts getting a little nicer out, you're going to get algae growth on the inside of your tanks. That stuff, when it goes in solution with chemical, it grabs a hold of the chemical and then we get plugging too.
Oh, really?
So a way to fix that is just a little bit of copper sulfate. If you got like a freestanding tank, just a small amount will keep the algae at bay.
So like let's say it's a 1,000-gallon tank, like a fistful will do that?
A fistful will do it.
So like, okay, and then like let's say it's a huge tank, a couple fistfuls?
Yeah, I would say it's copper sulfate is a very good herbicide.
And it's completely safe.
It is, yes.
Oh, interesting.
So, yep, that's another little trick of the trade. But keep your algae under control, mix your chemicals correctly, and you should have a trouble-free spraying experience.
And then make sure you're wearing your PPE. Maybe you don't go as far as what I usually like to wear, my Breaking Bad suit, as I like to call it, but always important, gloves for your hands.
Gloves and something for your eyes. So nobody likes to get a splash up of chemical in their eyes. So make sure you got eye gear and gloves.
The most important stuff.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, what else?
I think that.
Any other sprayer tips of like prepping, cleaning, nozzles, filters?
Yeah, keep your nozzles and filters clean when you're switching between products. You know, as everybody's spraying their pre-merge soybeans right now, and we're going to go to post-emerge corn and soybeans. Sprayer cleanout is going to become very, very important. So make sure when you're switching between products, you're dumping those filters and getting all the residue out.
And then maybe before we end this segment, let's hear an expert forecast. Are there any noxious weeds that have you on high alert with the kind of season that we're having so far?
So anytime it's an early year, we're probably going to be in store for late season because a lot of the chemicals going on early this year. So look for your chemical to run out probably towards the middle to end of June. So that's giant rag, double leaf, water hemp. Those are all time frame where you'll get a second flush. Just because you can't rely on chemical put on in May to make it, you know, it's not going to make it through July unless you have very low leaf pressure. So keep an eye on your fields late season. And quick seeded broadleaves.
That's right. All right. Well, Craig, anything else?
I think that's good for me.
Thanks for watching. If you dig this video, feel free to share with your friends and don't forget to hit the like button there down at the bottom. And happy spring, everybody.
Yep, be safe.